It has been a minute since I've heard that intro. Thankfully, it is back, and there's no better time to come back than spring training. We are officially back for the 2025 season. I'm, of course, Saban McKelly, and with me, as always, my co-host, Nate Bope. Nate, long time no see. How we doing today?
Dude, I just can't wait for baseball. It's been it really hasn't been that long if you think about it, but it's
Yeah.
still been too long since we have had any sort of baseball to talk about. And spring training starts, I think, literally tomorrow. I think Dodgers Cubs first spring training game,
Yep, first
Guardians
game tomorrow.
open with the Reds. And we're here to just give our preview thoughts on spring training prospects. We're excited to see, kind of talking about where guys might land and some of the moves that the big league club has made. You see up here, we got the new logo. We kind of both collaborated on that. Think it looks real smooth. We'll get a new intro for future shows this year, but I know you've been bouncing around doing a lot of media stuff. I've been bouncing around doing a lot of media stuff. Let's add this to the list, my friend, because baseball is back.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep, been bouncing around, um, covering all sorts of sports. I was at the Civic Center yesterday, watching number two
Mm-hmm.
nationally ranked prospect play some basketball, Darren Peterson. So it's been fun. But I mean, getting to the end of basketball season, that means baseball's right around the corner, and
Yeah,
couldn't be
man.
more
I
excited.
absolutely can't wait. Football season is done. We already had the Super Bowl and everything
And
go
your
on.
Buckeyes, they got it done.
Yeah, they did. I mean, what a run. One of the best runs ever. One of the best runs ever. But yeah, focus right now fully on little bit on basketball still. There's still Cavs basketball going on. Very exciting. Cleveland just got a WNBA team, which is super, super exciting. And hey, by the way, Caitlin Clark is a free agent the year the Rockers are coming in. So look out. All
That's
I'm
the move.
saying.
That's the move to make right there.
Yeah, but first, I mean, I think we should just recap what all, at least the big league club has done, and then
Yeah.
we'll just sort of preview our thoughts for spring training. So we got to go all the way back to November, where this whole sort of offseason started for the Guardians because they traded Eli Morgan to the Cubs for Alfonso Rosario. You'll lose a piece to the bullpen while picking up a prospect that mainly plays right field. They did re-sign George Valera, which is very, very good. We also did trade Peter Strzelki, the guy whose last name we always screwed up for the Clippers. They traded him to the Pirates for cash, something that you probably missed. Still a really, really good minor league pitcher that the Pirates are getting, and we made a lot of moves with the Pirates. Then, of course,
Yes, we
the
did.
big thing happened. We ended up getting Andres Jimenez, or I said we ended up flipping Andres Jimenez and Nick Sandlin to the Toronto Blue Jays for Spencer Horwitz and Nick Mitchell. Then we flipped Spencer Horwitz to the Pirates again for Luis L. Ortiz, who's going to be a big, big fixture and a big X factor to the Guardians starting rotation this year, and a couple of bullpen minor league guys, or I should say they could even start there. Michael Kennedy, Josh Hartle, both of them are lefties. That was one of the very big moves. Obviously, the Rule 5 draft did happen as well, where Christian
Yep.
Cairo got selected by the Atlanta Braves, and the Guardians selected what, I think 4 guys from the Rule 5 draft, 4 or 5, something like that. And we can go over those in just a little bit. We did have a couple free agent signings throughout the months of December there as well. Dom Nunez got a minor league contract, so veteran MLB catcher, or no, sorry, a veteran catcher at the minor league level that the Guardians ended up re-signing. And then, of course, here was the other big one, right? We came on and said after Jimenez got traded, and I even echoed, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Josh Naylor got traded. Ended up happening. He's going to go over to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Slade Kasani, I probably am saying that last name wrong. Sakani, figure out how to say that because we got to get his name right. He is going to be one of the big features of the Guardians bullpen this year. And they also did get a free agent first baseman, Carlos Santana. Welcome back to Cleveland for what feels like the 18th time, but always good to see him back in a Guardians uniform. And other than that, man, I mean, they're just signing a lot of guys, inviting a lot of
Yep.
guys to spring training, pretty much everyone in the books. They also did my apologies. They also did sign a free agent in Paul Sewald. And then what they just did, they signed a couple other pitchers, Jacob Junis, who could be a feature to this rotation, as well as John Means, who is definitely going to be slotting into this rotation. Guardians getting help where help is needed and getting it cheap might I add there as well. Otherwise, something you may not have saw, Logan Allen Haven has changed his number to 26, which might be the most important move of the off season. So there you go. There's your little recap for you. Any thoughts on what happened? We've kind of touched on the Jimenez trade, a guy that, again, they didn't want to pay. Star Glove, the bat is a concern. Same sort of thing with Josh Naylor. You were probably going to overpay for him. But the Guardians don't really do many big things in free agency. Do get a couple guys in trades, especially for the rotation that can help them out. You signed Carlos Santana, who's going to be a big feature at first base for the Guardians this year, along with him, Kyle Manzardo, and once he's healthy, David Fry. They've placed him on the 60-day injured list, as well as Sam Hedges as well. So already some injuries to battle. You also do have to deal with Shane Bieber coming back from rehab and a couple other guys there as well. But otherwise, I mean, probably not as good of a roster on pure talent-wise, especially in the lineup as it was last year. But they didn't really add that big name that we were hoping that they would. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Guardians did too bad for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to lose the guys like Naylor and Jimenez, who were obviously, the all-star pieces and fan favorites that you did. But, I mean, I think they did a solid job at, replacing those guys with the Carlos Santana. And, for Jimenez, we've been talking about it constantly. You have all the guys in the minor leagues. You have, Tyler Freeman. You have Juan Burrito who can slide in there. And then obviously you got to make room for Bazana eventually. So I thought Jimenez would have been dumped next year. I knew it was going to come just because obviously you have to make room for Bazana. And Rocchio's a cheaper option and much younger option with a lot more upside than Jimenez, especially with the bat. So, obviously that move was going to come. Again, I thought the Naylor trade was going to be delayed another year, especially with still having Bo on the roster. You didn't get much for him, but it was just strictly to dump the contract. And you did a solid job of replacing him with Carlos Santana, fan favorite, coming back. And he still puts up good stats for how old that he is. So I like that move. And then a couple recent trades. I like the Jacob Junis move. I know he had a 2-point, something ERA last year. I know he bounces. His innings fluctuate. I looked at that. I wonder, was he like a starter or like a long reliever? Kind of anywhere in that boat for him. He'll have some games with 7 innings, some games with 2 innings. So really, really in between. But it has good ERA. I think he was 4-0 last year. So I really like that pickup for the Guardians. Cheap option. And then John Means. I mean, 2019, I don't think it was an all-star, but I know he had a really good year. He had a 3.6 ERA as a starter, 155 innings, big strikeouts guy. But, he got bit by the injury bug. Over his last five years, 2 games in 2020, 6 games in 21, didn't play at all in 22, 1 game in 23, and last year he only played 2 times. So if you can get John Means healthy, I think he can be really good, a veteran to add to that pitching staff. But nonetheless, I think you did a good job of replacing what you lost over the offseason to make room for some of the younger guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about a lot of those younger guys here in a minute. But right now, again, just thoughts on the Jimenez and Naylor thing. We've kind of beat the Jimenez thing to the ground on podcasts before, but it's been a minute, so we can resurface that, as well as Josh Naylor. Again, it's another instance or 2 more instances within this organization of them not wanting to pay guys when they develop. Now, you could say that you were going to overpay Jimenez for his defensive attributes and not necessarily, couldn't bring consistent stuff to the plate. For Josh Naylor, struggled in the playoffs last year, but almost had a 40 home run season. You could argue that the Guardians could have probably overpaid for him, or at least someone is going to eventually. But I mean, I've kind of come to terms with it. I've kind of said, okay, let's see what these young guys can do, because that's what this Indian/Guardians organization has always been about. Let the young guys shine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously you have a ton of young guys there, and you gotta trade Naylor to make room for Manzardo too. Naylor had a career year last year, but if you look at his and Santana's stats, not much of a difference. Batting average was only a 6-point difference in favor of Naylor. He's had 8 more home runs, but 30 more RBIs. But the contract wise, you're going to have to pay Naylor. I get the decision, picking up Santana as kind of that bridge guy to help Manzardo along. And Manzardo is going to obviously be the guy going forward next year. I don't think you bring Santana back after this year, considering I think he's going to be, 40. But, as a move that had to be done. And I think I would have waited a year, but it you can do it now if you really wanted to for Naylor because again, he's never going to really hit the average career year in home runs. But I obviously like Naylor a lot, but I like the Santana pickup for the Guardians too.
Yeah, and I mean a familiar face to the organization, especially for a lot of the younger fans when hey, I remember that guy. He was here before. And again, like you said, I think a perfect bridge guy for Kyle Manzardo, not only because he's a veteran, he's done this for a long time, but also because he's been with the organization before. So just something else to sort of look at and preach on. Hey, we had a lot of other movement though around the major leagues, and we can talk more about moves around the majors later on in different shows. Here is how you pronounce Slade Sakani. That is his last name.
Sakani. All right.
Sakani. So get used to saying that, Guardians fans, because I think he's going to be a feature piece of the bullpen. And obviously, we got to see what sort of prospects and young guys are going to come up through the ranks to play the positions and get into the lineup. But as far as the pitching standpoint, we kind of already have a good idea of who these guys are. Like you said, if John Means can stay healthy, you and I both believe he's got the tools necessary
Oh, yeah,
to,
for sure.
at very least, be a guy to back up Bybee and Bieber in the 3-hole. Or if one of those guys get hurt, he's going to be a solid number 2. Jacob Junis is a guy that's bounced around for a little bit. I know he was with the Royals at a time. I don't know if that's where he was last season. But again, to what you said, could be a pretty massive part. We'll see if Gavin Williams or Tristan McKenzie can sort of find their rhythm this year. And then Ortiz coming over from the Pirates, a staple of that rotation, and he'll be a good piece this year. So I really do like everything that the Guardians have done. Let's dive on in here and talk about the guys that have been invited to spring training. So obviously the entire 40-man roster and things of that nature, but most notably, now guys on the 40-man roster. Gabby Arias is still on that 40-man roster. Talk about him in a little bit. They did move Petey Halpin onto the 40-man as well as Jonathan Rodriguez. So they're kind of there in the outfield. Other than that, though, I mean, as I'm looking up and down this list there, not really any sort of surprises or major changes to the 40-man. I'm just kind of like, nah. Okay, like these are the guys that we expected to be on that list. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I think the only shocker is really Petey Halpin, getting added to the 40-man roster. But again, a young guy that you drafted high, and you really don't want to lose him to another team in the Rule 5 draft, so it had to be done. Do I get any playing time in Cleveland this year? No, I think he'll ride out the entire year in Columbus unless we get hit by the injury bug just because of how many outfielders and guys we have that can play the outfield. But a move that I don't hate at all. I mean, I think Pete is a really good young player, and you should have protected. But by
Yeah,
shockers, I would say that's probably the only one. I kind of
he's
expected
also one of
everybody else.
the older faces that have been around the Guardians minor league systems for quite some time. We are going to go through every single non-roster player because those of you are pretty familiar with the 40-man. So here are all the 40-man players that got invited, and we have to start on the pitching mound, and we have to start with Ryan Webb because you and I were shocked that he didn't go anywhere. We thought for sure this
Oh,
guy
yeah.
is going to get picked up. Ryan Webb is still here. Jack Leftwich is still here. Mason Hickman is still here. Will Dion, Tanner Burns, Bradley Hanner. Those are some of the
Tanner.
guys that have been invited to spring training who are going to be competing for a spot on this Guardians roster, and a couple other really good pitchers. But again, the biggest shock here, not that he got invited to spring training. Obviously, he was going to, but the biggest shock that he's still around the organization. It's Ryan Webb.
Yeah, 100%. Like we were talking, I mean, we knew Ryan Webb was going to get we what we thought he was going to get drafted 100%, but somehow teams passed on him, and we lucked out, and we got another year with Ryan Webb. And I think him and Nikhazy are definitely going to be two young arms that. If Nikhazy doesn't start in Cleveland, it's only going to be a month till he gets up, and it's only a matter of time till Ryan Webb joins Nikhazy to and just bring what they have to offer to that rotation. Two really young arms that have been with us for a minute, and we've been talking them up since last year. But you look at their time in Akron, that's where they really both exploded, and they're really good pieces that we lucked out to keep Ryan Webb.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the other guys, you did not see Travis Bazana get a non-roster invite, but we're sure that he's going to play at
Oh yeah.
least some spring ball a time or two. Kind of remains to be seen on that. Again, I think it's still a little bit of a stretch if he gets to Cleveland this year, but something we'll talk about a little bit later. As for the other positions, Cooper Ingle, very exciting young catching prospect that you and I both love. He
Yep.
got an invite there as well, and then a whole ton of infielders that we are going to be familiar with. Diane Frias, your guy Mike Capriz, Milan Tolentino, Yordis Valdez, Khalil Watson, Will Wilson, and then Chase DeLauder will obviously be there as well as an outfield piece. Same thing with George Valera.
Yeah, again, I mean, just veteran guys we've had for a minute, but I mean, they're still young and they still have a lot to bring to the table. Micah Prees, we've had for a minute, but utility guy. He can play both corners of the outfield and first base. So another fill-in guy, utility guy. Say some injuries happen, he's going to be fighting for a spot. Valera, who we DFA'd, nobody wanted to take a chance on him just because of his injuries. He comes back to us. If he bounces back, he's got a really good shot. Just a ton of other guys that you mentioned, even like Frias and Tolentino with the glove, and same with Valdez, just guys, even if they're not competing for that major league spot, just to get to Columbus to start the year. So it should be pretty interesting to see how many with all the middle infielders we have, and just to see where they kind of lay. Another big kind of question mark I have going to spring training is DeLauder's health. Is he going to, remain injury prone, or is he going to kind of bounce back this season? That we've seen a lot of injuries hit him early in his career. Obviously, we hope that he's ready to go and can get to Cleveland this year to help out that roster. But that's one of my biggest question marks is he going to remain healthy more than if kind of is Bazana going to play?
Also, not to say that. Sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, I mean, kind of needs your feet to play baseball, right? You got to run around the field. You got to run around the base of the tie. You score runs. The foot issues are definitely going to be something to watch for Chase DeLauder. But a guy that we can dive on into this conversation a little bit now. Who are some of the younger guys that you expect to see in Cleveland this year? Let's start out with the likes of the 40-man roster and maybe some guys that weren't necessarily up there this year. I think a shoo-in to get up to Cleveland this year absolutely is a guy by the name of Juan Burrito, who we have touched on many a times. I think he absolutely is going to see the field there. Otherwise, no guy that hasn't seen Cleveland yet. I think Jonathan Rodriguez is going to translate his game a little bit better, and he's going to see a lot more time in Cleveland this year. Same thing with the likes of Angel Martinez. Here's the one thing, though, right? You got a bunch of middle infielders coming through the ranks. Stop trying to turn these natural outfielders in the middle infielders. Just stop. There's no need for it. You got a lot of really talented players, and now especially with Juan Brito, maybe, again, I see it as a little unlikely, but maybe Bazana climbs the ranks fairly fast this year and get some time in Cleveland. You're going to have middle infielders to play. We know Daniel Schneemann is a utility guy that can go around and play everywhere. But again, the only guy that I think is a shoo-in to see time in Cleveland that hasn't yet throughout his career is Juan Brito.
Yeah, I agree with Burrito for sure. I think there's another guy who I think's a lock to probably make the start opening day rosters, Franco Aleman. We got rid of Sandlin and Morgan, and that freed up room for Aleman and, the other guys we brought in. But Franco Aleman is a guy who we've been high on for a minute now. Last year in Columbus, he had a 1.99 ERA out of the bullpen with 24 games played, which is his career high. And, I mean, the dude was just an absolute machine down there. I mean, strikeouts like crazy. He reminds me a lot of Cade Smith. And, the Ducks were fortunate to have both of them in the same bullpen, which was pretty deadly down at AA a couple of years ago. But I think Franco Aleman, he's a lock for opening day. I've only seen good things out of him. A 1.99 ERA. I don't care where you're doing it. It's impressive, especially at the AAA level. So I think he's a lock to, make that bullpen and be a setup guy for, Class A or Cade Smith.
Yeah, and both of those guys that we just mentioned, they're on the 40-man roster. Hey, Taven, let's move away from the pitching side a little bit because I think that's an interesting conversation we'll have in a second. Let's go with the field. Some guys that aren't necessarily on the 40-man roster that you could see making it to Cleveland this year. The easy and obvious pick is Chase DeLauder. I think if George Valera can stay healthy, he'll probably start in AAA with Chase DeLauder if DeLauder doesn't make the opening day roster, then you could see Valera come up there. Watch out for any of these infielders to come up there. I see it as unlikely that Valdez or Tolentino or Watson sort of make their way up to Cleveland this year, but I'd watch out for them. Definitely can make some noise going into AAA. But especially with the injury to David Fry, if you're going to look for a third catcher, you can go with Dom Nunez, or Cooper Engel is a very good option.
Yeah, like you said, I think all those guys you named are pretty young. They ended the year with Akron, Tolentino, Valdez, and, Khalil Watson, I think, is only 2021. So he's got a lot of time to obviously improve too. But, I like the names you're throwing out. I think DeLauder is obviously the number one choice to get there. I think if I'm still high on Valera, I think if he stays healthy, that he's really good. And same with Espino. I know we're not talking pitchers right now, but if he could stay away from the injuries, I think he could be a good bullpen guy. But I mean, going back to Valera, I think it's just the injuries with him. I think both of those guys have, and DeLauder, I think both those guys have the capability and obviously the talent to get there. It's just the injuries kind of set them back. And, those are the only two really guys that I think have a shot that haven't been at the major league level. You obviously have the Jonathan Rodriguez who go up and down. Guys like that, I think, are going to elevate their game to the next level and stay up there full time now, along with Brito. But I think DeLauder and I think Valera have the best shot of, cracking that 40-man. And going for catchers, I like Dom Nunez if you need a third guy, but I was really high on Lavastida. The Astros picked him up, I want to say last week. So that was another move that happened. We lost Lavastida, and he saw some time with the major league level. I think he might be there, bounce around, be their number 2 guy over there. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I would say DeLauder and, Valera are probably my 2 locks.
Let's kind of set an opening line right now, and we can sort of place our bets on this line as we get closer and closer to the season. Over under here, how many guys, not pitchers, will we see bounce up to Cleveland this year to make their major league debut? I'm thinking that line probably opens at like 4.5.
Do you have a number in mind of what it was last year? Because I want to say like 10-ish.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a lot.
Yeah, let's just go through the list here. So in terms of non-pitchers, you had Angel Martinez, you had Jonathan Rodriguez, you had Kyle Manzardo, you had Daniel Schneemann, Gabby Arias had seen major league time before. Who else? Who else am I missing? Rocchio had been up to the major leagues before last year. I feel like I'm missing a really obvious one, and maybe someone in one of our chats is screaming at me right now. But
fielding wise,
David Fry wasn't a rookie.
Rocchio, Freeman. You had Will Brennan's been up. Oh, Noel, Big Christmas.
Oh, okay, so there you go. Nope. So there, that. I'm so sorry, Big Christmas. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I knew I was missing a really obvious one. So 5 non-pitchers that we can count made their major league debut this year. So that's why I'm like 4.5, because if you're going to look and be realistic, again, Juan Brito's a shoe-in. There's one.
Yep.
DeLauder's probably going to get some time in Cleveland if he stays healthy. So there's 2, and then it's a crapshoot from there.
Yeah, I think you might see Micah Prees for, like a 10-game stint, send him down. Guy gets hurt, bring him up 10 games, send him back down. I don't think he'll be up for much time. But I do think he'll see some time. Even if you were to go Dom Nunez, he's even seen major league time. So does that really count? I would probably say not. And then Valera might be the borderline guy. So I'm going to put mine at 3.5. We'll go like 3.5 around there.
Lines set to fluctuate. We'll make predictions as the season gets closer. But now let's talk about pitchers, and then we can kind of bounce around on what's interesting. So pitchers to me is interesting because of the amount of guys that Cleveland already has. Obviously, it's still a very young bullpen, and you got 2 of probably, I would argue, 2 of the top 4 relievers in the entire league with Emmanuel Clase and Cade Smith. Both of those guys are phenomenal. But you look at what else. Hunter Gaddis is back. Andrew Walters is a guy that could definitely could still develop in his role. Same thing with Eric Sabrowski. And then you have Slade Sakani coming in here, Paul Sewald
coming in. Tim Herron in the bullpen, Alamon fighting for a spot.
Yep. Sam Hentges once he comes back from the 60. I mean,
Trevor
still a
Steffen
loaded.
coming back. He missed
Yeah,
all last year.
that's
And then Ben
still
Lively up and down. So yeah, a lot of names like you've said.
Yeah, still a loaded bullpen. But then look at the guys that are in this rotation.
Yeah.
Bybee, Lively, Williams, Bieber, McKenzie, Ortiz, Cantillo, if he's healthy, and we need spots for him. Jacob Junis just got signed, and we might use him as a bullpen role. And then John Means, who just got signed. I mean, I listed off 10 guys right there that could be a starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians this year. So when you talk about it in the context of how many young guys are we going to see come up and in, obviously there's always room for pitchers. I don't know if any one of these starters will see some significant time, because if McKenzie is pitching well, I mean, okay, look, so let's just face it. When everyone is pitching at their best, when you're going to get Bybee, Lively, and everyone else I've said at their best, I think there are 7 or 8 guys that can start and give you 6 quality innings at the major league level. They're Tanner Bybee, Ben Lively, Gavin Williams, Luis Ortiz, Tristan McKenzie, and Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
And if they're healthy, John Means and Jacob Junis. So what did I name, 9?
So I'm going to argue a little bit. Obviously you're not going to Bieber out the gate, so that kind of crosses him off the list. But we know he's a Cy Young candidate when he pitches, and he's healthy. McKenzie, that boat has sailed for me. We were talking about it, on last year's podcast. He's up and down, and more so really down. I mean, beginning of his career, he was up. I don't think McKenzie's that guy anymore, so I'm not really going to throw him in there. As of now, I think you have Bybee, Lively, Williams, and Ortiz that are 4 good starters. Outside of that, you have your guys like Cantillo. Who else? You have John Means if he's healthy. I think I heard he might start the year on the 60-day IL. So there goes that for opening day. But I think
Jacob Junis, I think, has been a starter before.
Yeah, so you have Cantillo, you have Junis, you have maybe Logan Allen if he gets back. I'm a big Logan Allen fan. I think he can get back to where he was, which is that number 3/4 pitcher that you need. And I really like Logan Allen before his little, let's face it, a decline last year. But I think he can be a really good guy. And then you have guys like Nikhazy and Webb, who we obviously mentioned. So I think they get some time, especially in the early going when you have, John Means and Bieber still on the IL. So I think you definitely have some depth, but not where I'd like it to be, especially last year. You had Boyd, who kind of helped that out a little bit, but we'll see with the rotation.
So probably going to see, to your point, if a lot of those pitchers, again, knowing that you won't have Bieber, Means might start on the IL. And again, they're probably going to want to start McKenzie, Allen, some of those guys that struggled last year in AAA. Yeah. To me, I think you're absolutely correct about Tristan McKenzie. I think he's too injury prone. I just think that, again, kind of like with you, that ship has sailed way long ago. I was just making the point, if he was healthy, playing well, he's a good quality starter.
Which he's capable of. I just don't think he's there anymore. Especially with the injuries on top of it. I'm not big on McKenzie anymore.
I definitely agree. So when you want to talk about guys that are going to make sort of an MLB debut, I think Doug Nikhazy is the runaway favorite.
For sure.
Ryan Webb is right there. We'll see if he starts in Akron or Columbus. That's AA or AAA. Will Dion is a guy that we both really like too. So who knows? Maybe we can see Will Dion come out of the pen there. And who knows who else is going to end up making that debut. But again, runaway favorite, if you're going to see a pitcher make their debut, which you're probably going to see at least 2 or 3 this year, just because of injuries and guys getting hurt. And I mean, it's just the reality of baseball. Someone's going to get Tommy John surgery. It's going to happen. Nikhazy to me is that runaway favorite. And we'll see who else can slot in as that sort of young player, rookie type role that can come up and make a big impact with this team.
Talk about young rookie guy coming up, making a big role, younger guy. Could we see Davenport 2025?
Maybe. Yeah, I think he got an invite there as well. It's just not showing up on the list that I have, but I do think he's with the spring training team right now. And obviously you'll see the Guardians team split, do a couple double headers and things of that nature. But they're in the Cactus League, right? They go down to Zona.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're in the Arizona complex right now. Hey, let's talk guard ball for a little bit, then we can talk prospects that we like and hopefully guys that can emerge this year. But in terms of the Guardians' projected lineup, I have made sort of my own little thing, and you can kind of give yours there as well.
Yeah.
As far as the rotation, and let's fast forward a little bit. Opening day going to look a little bit different when baseball's in full swing, and let's go to like early mid-July around the All-Star break. This is what you could possibly have for the Cleveland Guardians this year. In the rotation, it's Bieber, Bybee, once he gets healthy, John Means, Ortiz, and then you can throw in the likes of Williams. You can throw in Lively, pretty much anyone that's going to be pitching well at that point. For me, it would have to be Gavin Williams because I think he's got the best stuff out of anyone that I haven't listed yet. Lineup, Kwanzaa's obviously going to hit first. That's an absolute no-brainer. I like Manzardo in the DH hole at 2. You'll see him play some first base this year, but a lot of DH for Manzardo this year. Ramirez is going to bat third. You're not going to see that change. Obviously, he plays third base. Cleanup, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but I do like a guy like Big Christmas in that cleanup hole. Jonathan Rodriguez produces,
Really?
and they all will play right field. Or if you see Chase DeLauder come up and develop, then you could put him clean up as well. Carlos Santana is another guy I like in the middle of that rotation.
That's who I would have my 4. I think it's a guy who, he's hit there when he was here last time with us. So I think he's the 4-hole hitter.
4 to 5, 4 and 5 to me is pretty interchangeable, so I don't have a problem with Santana hitting 4. Anyone that plays right field, which is the one spot the Guardians have still got to fill and find a consistent piece for, they can hit 4th or 5th. And then I like Lane Thomas in that 6-hole, easy center fielder, a guy that absolutely crushes left-handed pitching, crushes right-handed pitching.
Yep.
I gotta remember which one that is. And then the young guy that I think is a shoo-in to start is Juan Brito. I like him in the 7. Bo Naylor probably going to bat 8th, and then Rocchio will round out the lineup at 9th. That would be kind of my ideal thing. Obviously, manager Stephen Vogt did a really good job with utilizing all of his players. I also wouldn't be surprised if Gabby Arias gets some time. I know you're kind of iffy on him, but the way that I've seen his swing and his game develop through camps, and now especially, I think he's going to be one of the biggest pieces in spring training to watch, which we'll talk about biggest players to watch in a second, but I'll give you a little spoiler. Gabby Arias is a player that you got to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned, he really mashed in, the Venezuelan league. I believe that's where he was. And, he hit, I think, over 400, which he's doing something right. He's figuring it out. But, I mean, a guy who you didn't mention, and I've been really high on him, is Will Brennan. I love that dude. I think he's our lock in right field. Again, I said it last year. I think Noel is just too slow to put him anywhere in the field. But then again, are you going to bounce him and Manzardo in the DH spot? And, hit Will Brennan every game? I don't know. That's probably where they're going to have to go. My lineup would be strictly position-based. Probably Santana at first. Probably Brito at second. Shortstop is, Rocchio. And then you got Ramirez, obviously, at third. Quans in left. Lane Thomas in center. I would go Will Brennan in right. That's just personally me. I like better defense out there than what Noel has to bring. And then, Naylor's going to catch 2 out of 3 days, and Hedge is going to be that 1 out of every series kind of guy. And then DH spots just down to, Manzardo, and I think Noel just kind of flip-flop. And then you got the utility guys off the bench in, a Gabby Arias or, Schneemann and guys of that nature. So I like where this team's at. I think we were all kind of overreacting when, you saw Naylor and Jimenez going, but you got some young guys who could slide in. And if at least half of them hit and they do solid this season, you should be in a good place, so.
Yeah, for sure. Quan is going to hit, he gets on base and has upped his power game as well. You kind of heard a little bit about it last year in that they were just telling Quan, like, go up there and swing.
Yeah.
Like, just go swing. So he's striking out more, still not at a very high rate, but he is striking out more, but it's also translating to more home runs from him. Could you see Kwanzaa get 15 home runs this year? I'm thinking it's possible.
I think he's around that 12 range. It'll be interesting to see if he cracks 15, but he'll get close. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Jose was almost 40-40 player last year.
MVP candidate
Please,
always.
please, let's get back there this year. One of the most underrated players in baseball. And I know some people don't like hearing that argument, but us in Cleveland,
He's the
no.
most underrated player in
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So here's kind of a mashed starting lineup, and then bench guys and guys you could see at AAA. So
Yeah.
Quan batting first, you could put Manzardo or Lane Thomas batting second. I'd be okay with either. And this is not positions; this is just batting order. Jose batting third. DeLauder, if he comes up, you could also put Big Christmas in there at cleanup, or Carlos Santana, the latter of which you would end up putting in the 5-hole. Lane Thomas and Tyler Freeman can exchange time at center field.
Freeman. I forgot about
Yeah,
him.
and that's where you could go. Burrito at second base will bat seventh. Again, Gabby Arias could be a guy that plays second as well. Bo Naylor, Austin Hedges catching, and then Rocchio is going to be your everyday shortstop. Proved it last year, especially in that deep playoff run.
Yeah, and that's what works about this team is that you have guys that can play anywhere. Freeman can play right. I mean, the entire outfield, both middle infield spots, and that's just what makes I think Vogt's job so much easier. Is just he can put guys wherever he needs, and use pinch hitters and pull guys off the bench to go. So I think that's just what makes this team click and work, and I think that's why we're gonna have a pretty good record in the AL Central this season. I don't think it's gonna be what it was last year. Just you lost a veteran talent, but I think you could definitely be a wild card team. You might even win the division again. I might even go there.
Yeah, we'll preview that a little bit and sort of give some initial thoughts before spring training. Some guys that likely could start in AAA, you might see with the big league roster there as well. Angel Martinez, Will Brennan is a guy that kind of a coin flip on whether or not he starts at the big league club or goes to AAA. Daniel Schneemann, Jonathan Rodriguez, and then the site that I'm looking at right now has also got Petey Halpin. So clearly there's some stuff there to where Petey Halpin has developed really well. Obviously, you could put a lot of other guys there as well. David Fry going to start on the IL. We know when he gets healthy how big of a factor he is going to be to this team. Couldn't play the field towards the tail end of last season, couldn't catch because of the injury, did still hit and hit really well. So when he comes back and is healthy, we know that David Fry is going to be a big part to this team. So PSA to all the Guardians fans out there, and I'm going to echo this when the season gets closer. Don't be worried if this team gets off to a slow start because they're only going to get healthier, only going to get better. And sort of there in May, June, July is where you're going to see the Guardians, I think, playing their best baseball this year.
Like you said, I think if you can just ride that, being 500 wave up until mid-May, I think you win the division. Just strictly because you're going to have Bieber coming back, who's a Cy Young candidate. John Means is going to get healthy. The younger guys are going to get experience and develop. So I think if you could just ride 500, hang second in the, in the division, beat up on the AL Central teams when you play them, I think you're good to go if you can just ride that 500.
All right, it's time to list off some names, and we're going to give our opinions on where these guys start. And we're going to go through a bunch of the bigger names. Obviously, as we get closer and closer, we'll start talking about some guys that we'll see in Lynchburg and Lake County and things like that. But as far as big names, do they start? Where do they start, Taven? Let's just go through the list here. Let's start out with a pretty easy one. We've already touched on it. Juan Brito, where's he starting this year? It's got to be Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm going Cleveland, like you said. I mean, you need somebody to fill that Jimenez spot, and I think the number one guy to do it is, Juan Brito.
Let's stick with the infield here. Let's go Daniel Schneemann. Where does he begin the 2025 season now?
As a 5-year Schneemann fan, I feel like I'm obligated to say Cleveland. So I'm going to go with Cleveland. He's not going to start by any means, but he is, I think, one of the most useful utility guys in being he can legitimately play every position on the field besides first and catcher.
Yep.
So
I am going to go based off of what I've seen from Gabby Arias. I think he's going to start the season in AA, or not AA, AAA. Sorry, man. AA is sorry. Sorry, Daniel. No.
I mean, I'd love to see him in Akron again, but I don't think he'd like to be down there.
AAA is, I think, where Schneemann is going to start. Let's go with a couple outfielders here. Will Brennan, where does he begin the season?
Same thing. I'm going with the Major League Club. I truly believe he's a Gold Glove candidate. He just needs to get the bat around from that 220 kind of slump, 230. If he can hit 250, I think he's a really good guy. Really
And then
good
same thing with Tyler Freeman.
I'm going major leagues too. I think all those guys just kind of float. I think the guys who get snubbed are Arias, and we'll probably get to those guys, but Arias and a couple other guys.
Yeah. To me, I think it's a coin flip. Will Brennan and Tyler Freeman. I personally like Freeman a tiny bit more, but it's not by much. So I'd go with Freeman to make the big league club and Will Brennan to go down to AAA. But one of those two guys, at the very least, is going to be with the big league club. Yeah. Jonathan Rodriguez.
J-Rod, with you having Noel, I think he starts in AAA. I think he gets off to a slow start in spring training, which I think he did last year as well. I can't remember if he got off. It was either quick or
AAA MVP from last year, Jonathan Rodriguez, will be back in AAA. That's where I got him.
He'll see major league time, but I think he starts, April with Columbus.
Let's go Angel Martinez. I think this is another AAA one for me.
I'm more so leaning toward AAA. He ended the year with Cleveland, but I'm going more toward AAA.
And then this one I know we're going to be different on. You mentioned his name a little bit ago. Gabby Arias, I have starting with the big league club, and you just said you got him going down to AAA. I think he's developed that swing really well, raked in the Venezuelan league, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. But, again, one of my players to watch for spring training.
Yeah, again, another guy that has the tools. I just don't think he's bringing it all together yet. Obviously, you saw that in the Venezuelan league, but can it translate, obviously better competition in the MLB? So it'll be interesting to see if he can bring that into, spring training and beat out one of these, the Will Brennans and Freemans for that spot. Another utility guy that can do it all. So
let's get a little more interesting now as we enter the pitching standpoint. Let's go with Tristan McKenzie.
I'm going AAA. I think if it was up to me, I would say AAA for life at this point. If that's injury setting him back, or just not being able to perform with the major league club. But I mean, you look at his ERA last year; it was well over 5. It might even have been at the 6 at some point. So I just don't think he's got the tools anymore.
New signee Jacob Junis.
I'm going major league. I love Junis. I love everything he's about. You look at the stats last year; he's 4-0 with a 2.5 or 4 ERA. He's probably the signing of the offseason for me. I love everything he's about. Just looking at his stats strictly. So,
Logan Allen.
I'm going major league to start the year, and I think he will end the year in AAA strictly because you have Means and Bieber out. I think instead of turning to a Nikhazy out the gate, I think you're going to go with a more experienced guy in Logan Allen to kind of fill that number 5 spot, and we'll see what he can do with that. If he carries on last year, he bounces back. So
fully agree with you. I don't have anything more to add, and you spoiled my next player because it is Doug Nikhazy. Where does he start? I'm going AAA again. I think as we see guys
AAA, but for about 3.5 weeks, and I think he gets right up to Cleveland. It won't be long at all, but I think it'll be like 3 weeks around there.
Let's go with that might actually be the only bullpen guy that we have. Junis was kind of the bullpen guy. Here's one actually. Daniel Espino.
I haven't heard. Is he still injured? I haven't heard anything.
That's a great question. He's not on any injury report according to MLB.com.
Okay. Yeah,
so if he's healthy, where does Espino start?
Oh, if healthy, AA.
Oh, okay.
I think you have to put him in Akron for about a month just so he can, figure things out and not obviously
rehab starts of some sort.
Right, and then I think he goes to Columbus the rest of the year. I think you transit, and here's my take on it. I think he doesn't even start the year as a starter. I think you transition him into the bullpen just so he doesn't get hurt. I mean, imagine having essentially.
I think if you're going to,
in my eyes, if you put him in the bullpen, I think he's another Class A.
I think if you put him down in the bullpen, he's going to start in AAA. But if you're going to use him as a starter, then sending him to Akron makes a little bit more sense. Final name here as far as guys that could start with the major league club or not, Franco Alamon.
For sure. I think he's a lock to make the opening day roster.
Okay.
I thought he was going to see
Okay.
some time last year at the
I'm
postseason. They turned toward
Eric Sabrowski, Andrew
Sabrowski.
Walters,
Sabrowski was the guy who I was shocked got the nod before
and pitched well,
Alaman.
pitched amazing.
Oh, for sure. I think he's going to start the year, obviously,
Yeah.
with the club too. But I think
Um,
Alaman goes in there as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on Allemon right now just because of roster spots and who else they might give that to.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll flesh it out a little bit more here. These are just some initial thoughts. Final guy that we'll talk about on the 40 man, and now we're starting to get into the more interesting ones. And could they start in Akron,
Yep.
Columbus? What about PD Halpin? I think he starts in AAA. I think he's going to go to Columbus.
For sure. He's been with Akron for
3
definitely
years.
2 whole years. I want to say he started the year in 23. Yeah, he was not on the 23, started the year with the club, and he played 2 full years with them. Obviously, he had the injury, I want to say around August of last year. So he missed the last month and a half of the season and the postseason. But I think a guy like that, you put him on the 40 man, can't keep him in Akron. I think you give him the nod and go to AAA, especially, he's progressing the way that this club sees that he is.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. Okay, let's talk about the big two for a second. Mr. DeLauder, where does he begin his 2025 campaign? I think it's going to be Columbus, and
For
I
sure.
think you'll see him come up through the ranks pretty darn quickly if he's able to stay healthy. Kind of like what you said with another player that we just talked about. I don't remember who it was, but DeLauder probably going to be in Columbus for. Oh, it was Doug Nikhazy you were talking about this for, but DeLauder probably going to be in Columbus for 2-3 weeks, and then he'll probably get that major league call. At least that's what I'm expecting.
So I'm expecting. Then again, he did get moved up pretty quick from Akron, only playing. It was mid-30s, 35 games. We'll just say.
I think all they wanted to see throughout his time in Akron was that if he was healthy, and I mean, when he plays, he's gonna have, like every baseball player does, you're gonna have your games you don't perform well, but as long as you can get up there and hit the ball out of the park, which DeLauder did a lot. I mean, that one in Akron over the Tiki Terrace out of the stadium was just like, are you kidding me?
And that's what he's capable of when he's healthy. I think they put him in Columbus just strictly off of injuries and games played last year. So I would throw him in Columbus, see if he could stay healthy. And then, I would say around mid-May, I could see him getting the nod. I think he does stay down there for, a month and a half. To figure some things out from last year, but especially with the depth that you have at the major league level with guys like Friedman and Will Brennan, I think you got to play those guys a little bit more time. Let them get things going and see what you got really in those guys, because they were all pretty much utility guys last year. So now you have some time to really see what they're about.
Number 1 overall pick last July, Travis Bazzana, I think is going to start in AA Akron.
For sure. I think that's a lock. I know a lot of people were saying high A. I don't see a reason for that. He played about a month and a half there.
No.
Columbus.
And he won a championship with Lake County.
Yeah, I don't see you, skipping AA with this guy. If you want to move him up quick, I think, a month and a half and he could be gone. I don't see that. I think he stays there until about mid-June and then kind of rides out the rest of the year with Columbus, maybe makes a postseason spot with the Cleveland club, September call-ups. But I think Akron's the only way to go here. I think you can't hold him back in high A as much as, management might want to, just so you can keep him an extra year for contract. But I think Columbus is too quick. I think he starts in Akron.
Yep, I absolutely agree. And kind of like you said, he's going to bide his time in Akron. He's going to have to work his way up. But now let's go with a little bit of a Duck theme here. Again, a lot of infielders to talk about. Khalil Watson is the first one up.
Watson, I'm going to go with Akron. He had a promising year last year, especially at the field, but the offensive side didn't really come around at times. Power, amazing. He's got great power. I want to say around 17, 20 home runs. But
I think 16 or 17 last year sounds about right.
Yeah, but the only thing that, I was shaky about with Watson is strictly the average, which I think he can get up. I mean, I love Khalil Watson.
Yeah.
Once you made the trade and brought him in, I knew it was going to be a great trade. He performed well in the field last year. You could play him anywhere. I would like to see him a little more in Akron just before he gets that nod. So I'm going to go with Akron because you also have guys, which we'll obviously touch on, Tolentino and Valdez, older guys are going to get the nod before Watson. I think you have so much in the middle infield spot to where even if Watson was ready, I think you'd be in Akron strictly on how much ahead there is in this organization.
Yeah, perfectly said. Nothing more to add. Yordis Valdez, I'll take the lead on, and I think he's a lock for Akron. I
Yep.
know he's getting that spring training invite, and maybe you can see him in Columbus because they're going to need a guy to fill up Juan Brito's shoes because we think he's going to start with that major league club. Again, though, that bat, he's been a clutch hitter at times, but it's kind of like he's like the Andres Jimenez up and coming. One of the best gloves I have ever seen at the minor league level, but the bat is just not there on a consistent enough basis for me to say anything higher than AA right now.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. I mean, the glove obviously is major league ready, but the bat's what you got to kind of focus on. And I think there's more talent up at Columbus with that bat. So I think Valdez kind of rocks it. Probably July with Akron, but I do think he'll end the year with Columbus for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Diane Frias. Akron again.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, not much more on that one. Okay, let's go now with former Eastern League Player of the Month, Mr. Milan Tolentino. I kind of have a hot take. I think he's going to start in Columbus. I think he's going to start with AAA.
Not a hot take in my eyes. That's exactly where I was leading. I think, Tolentino's been with the squad since 2022, so this will be his third year with Akron, and I think he's more than ready. He hit around 250 just off the top of my head. I mean, good home run.
If you want a guy to fill in for Brito, Tolentino's that guy.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up his stats here real quick just to get an exact of what he did last year. But, I mean, amazing in the field. Dude did everything right. A little bit of an he's only actually 23, but we've had him for a minute. Hit 241 with 9 home runs. He's not going to be a big power guy, but you don't need him to do that. 17 stolen bases, 43 RBIs, and, like you've touched on last year, he's the walk-off king. So a clutch guy in that with Tolentino. So I like everything he's about. I think he starts the year with Columbus, especially filling up Brito's shoes, like you said.
Last one we'll talk about here, Cooper Engel. I'm bouncing back and forth between AA Akron and AAA Columbus, but wow. I'm like 90% sure he'll wind up in AA Akron.
I'm going with Akron. I love everything we saw out of him. He only played the last month with Akron, and he was one of the main reasons. Him and Guy Lipscomb were one of the main reasons why we were in that playoff series at the end of the year. So I'd obviously love to see more out of Cooper Engel. He'll end the year with Columbus, no doubt about it, especially because we need catchers at the big level that can hit, and he's one of them. And he pulls out a masterclass every time he has that bat in his hand. And you don't see that often with catchers that can, hit. And he did it with, I think, over 300 average around there. It was impressive. So I'm going to go with Akron to start. Again, a little bit of a younger guy, but love everything Cooper Engel's about, and I think he'll easily end up with AAA.
All right, let's go with some guys that are high on the Guardians prospect list, and we'll see where they can land. So let's start with the Milwaukee Brewers star brother, Jason Chourio.
Jason Chourio, I'm going to say he will start the year with, high LA County. I think Lake County's going to –
I like that.
I think Lake County's going to lose a lot to Akron. Therefore, you're going to have to slide some guys up from, Lynchburg. There it is. Yep. Lynchburg. And Chourio's one of the older guys. He's done, wonders. Missed a little bit of last year with that injury. I think they're going to slide him right into high A, Lake County, and give them another superstar with the loss of, Bazana. So.
All right, let's go Angel Yanao. I'm kind of tempted to say Akron.
He ended the year with Lake County, right?
Yep, I believe so. Yes.
I'm gonna go. He's gonna start the year with Lake County strictly because Akron's gonna have Bazana. They're gonna have Valdez. They're gonna have Khalil Watson. Probably missing another name, Frias. So I don't really see any spot for Yanao. I think they want what's the pronunciation on that again?
Yanao.
Okay, I think Yanao starts in, high A just because I think they want him to be an everyday type of guy, and I don't think he's going to get that playing time with Akron. I think eventually he'll end up there, but yeah.
Let's go Ralphie Velasquez. I think another guy that's going to start in high A.
Again, yeah, I agree. I think, with Cooper Engel, I think he stays at high A. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one more here. Let's look. All right, let's go Austin Peterson. Pitcher.
Where do you have him? I want you. This is your guy. Let's see where you have him first.
I love Peterson. I love the pace that he pitches with. I'm back and forth between Akron or Columbus,
Wow.
but I think it's going to end up being Akron.
I think it's going to be Akron. He spent half the year with High A, half the year with Akron, and I think he does the same thing this year. Half the year with Akron, half the year with Columbus.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. There's one I'm kind of saving, so forgive me. I think you know who I'm saving.
Might.
Yeah, no, you probably do. Okay, here we go. Welbin Francisca. I think he's going to start in High A.
I'm going to go High A as
County.
well.
Yep. High A with Lake County. One more here before we get to the big one. Parker Messick.
Messick's another guy. I think I'm going to go Akron. I like all the
Messick
stuff.
and Peterson together in Akron. Disgusting.
Was last year. That was your playoff duo. And Peterson only gave up 1 run game 1. That's why you lost that game. But Messick was lights out when they went to Erie, and a big reason why you pushed that to game 3. So love everything Messick's about. I love what he did in the playoffs last year for Akron. One of the best pitching performances I've seen on the road in a playoff game in a while. So yeah,
I don't know if we've done this yet, but let's go Ryan Webb.
I think we did. I think we said Columbus just because of the guys ahead of him.
Yep, that's right. Okay, let's go with some pitchers now. The main one I do want to talk. Well, we already done some pitchers. One more guy though, Tommy Mace.
Mace is the guy I was hoping you brought up. So Mace is with the team in 22, 23, and 24.
I think he starts with Akron in 25. I'm
4
sorry.
straight years with Akron.
I think so. I think he'll see his way up to Columbus, but he'll start with AA Akron.
I'll give Tommy Mace Columbus. I think you can throw him in Columbus. He's older. He's an older guy. I think he's 24, 25. So I'm gonna go with Columbus.
Tugboat, Matt Wilkinson. 2 more.
Tugboat. I hope Akron. And I think Akron. He was with Lake County majority of the year. He put up crazy numbers. I'm gonna go
started
Akron.
with Lynchburg, moved up to Lake County. So
We'll go Akron.
All right, last guy here, and he was both our minor league MVPs last year. It's CJ Kafis.
Ooh.
I really want him to start in Columbus. I really want it for him.
Now, me being the selfish Akron fan I am, I want to see him in Akron. I think he will start in Columbus.
Yep.
That's where I'm at. But if it's Akron, not for long. I'll say that much.
Let's see his peak projection this year. I got a peak projection for Mr. CJ Kafis, 250 average, 333 on base percentage with a 436 slugging, 21 home runs, couple stolen bases, pretty good WRC plus. He I think was the number 7 first baseman in minor leagues. So
yeah, I saw that ranking. I think he was 8 and Velasquez was 9 or something like that. So we have 2 of the top 10, which is pretty good.
Yeah, pretty darn good. Okay, yeah. So the Guardians do have a spring breakout game. Mariners Guardians, which is going to be loaded with some top prospects there. But okay, let's before we dive on into some AL Central standing predictions, let's do what I've kind of been teasing all show. Who are the, I'll say, 3 to 5 players that could prove to be X factors for the Guardians that you are looking at and watching during spring training? Number 1 for me is Gabby Arias. Full on, hands down. I got to think about the rest. I've already said the reasons why I think Arias is going to be that player to watch, because if he develops that bat and develops that glove and he utilizes his full skill set, I think he can be a really dangerous piece to the Guardians team this year. But you got 3 to 5 players. I got to think about my other ones.
I mean, first off, my number 1 lock is, Juan Brito, like you mentioned. You need a
Juan
guy
Brito, Juan Brito, another guy to watch.
To fill Jimenez's spot, and I think he's obviously the number 1 candidate, so that's the number 1 guy you're going to end up watching, see if he works out and they really go that route. I believe he's the answer at second base, at least until Bazana gets there, and then when he does, he'll be, a utility guy or DH guy. So I think, he's my number 1. Another guy, I've really been high on him. I mentioned him throughout the show today is Franco Alemán. I really like what he brings to that bullpen. And I think he's going to be an exciting guy to watch in spring training just to see what he kind of pairs with, Clase and Cade Smith, because I think he's going to be right there with those guys. On the you can use him as a closer. I mean, that's what he's been in the
Yeah.
minor league, just like Cade Smith. So you have Cade Smith, you have Gaddis, you have, Class A, and then Alabon. I think those could be 4 really dangerous guys out of the bullpen.
Yeah, I think obviously the 2 top prospects in the organization, Bazana and DeLauder, I would watch them closely, especially DeLauder, because if he goes down to spring training and rakes, he's going to start the season with the big league team, no questions asked.
Yeah, for sure. Again, injuries is another big thing with DeLauder, but like you said, big guys to watch. I'm watching, what he's doing this year, if he's raking, which he did last year in spring training, but I think he was a little banged up too with a couple day-to-days in spring training last year. So it'll be interesting to see if he can stay healthy, along with, how he performs. So
yeah, I'm with you on Franco Alamon. Another pitcher, though, I mean, Nikhazy and Webb, those two who were a dynamic duo in Akron during their time. I'm very curious to watch both of those and how they perform. Also, Cooper Ingle, because if you're going to end up needing a third catcher, and Cooper Ingle's a catcher with a bat, which is pretty rare. Again, you've seen JT Real Muto do it before. A couple other catchers do it before. Cooper Ingle, I think, is that next guy up.
Again, you haven't seen a catcher hit 305 though, and that's what Cooper Ingle brings to the table. 11 home runs. So yeah, he's another guy. Yeah, that I'll be watching, because you don't have a lot of depth in that catching position.
Anyone else that, I mean, obviously we're looking forward to watch everybody just because baseball's back. But in terms of guys that can make a real difference with the big league club this year, I think Arias and Brito and Alamon and those guys have got to be at the tippy top of the list.
Yeah, and personally, just Aaron Davenport. Again, like I've hammered it home. I really believe he's going to be a great talent for us. I think he's going to be a number 2 once he gets to the major leagues. And I'm just really interested to see where he's going to land. That's another guy that we didn't mention. Where do you think he starts, Akron or Columbus?
I know you're going to say Columbus, but I
was thinking Akron.
Oh, really?
For like a month, and then Columbus.
I think he's a lock to start in Akron, unless he tears it up throughout spring training. Then you could put him in Columbus, which I don't necessarily think he's going to tear it up. I think he'll still pitch well, but I don't think he's going to come on and be this big shock to everybody in spring training, which is why I think he starts in Akron.
Yeah, but that's probably my 5th guy that I would be high on. So I'm personally just gonna go Brito, Alamon, Nikhazy, DeLauder, and Davenport. Those are my 5.
Last thing here, is there a prospect that you are looking at to really explode this year? A guy that's gonna jump through the ranks and surprise a lot of people?
Just mentioned him, Davenport, man.
Okay,
I'm high on him. I mean, I know I keep bringing his name up, but I mean, you
got to stick with your guy. I get it.
I haven't been more high on a prospect. I haven't been more high on a prospect since Cade Smith when he was in Akron, and obviously we see how he's turned out. So if I'm right on Davenport, like I was on Cade Smith, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, I don't really have one as of right now. I'll think about that question as we get closer to the start of the season. Hey, before we move on to talking a little Central League ball, anyone in any of our comment sections got anything of note?
You got nothing today. Pretty quiet first show back. So.
Yeah, well, they'll pick up. They will. They'll pick up. Okay, Central Division, and honestly, we can just talk the rest of Major League Baseball. It's going to be really hard to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers this year with everything that they're adding. But let's talk specifically American League Central. I'll tell you my thoughts right now. I think the Royals are going to not necessarily run away, but I think they're going to win the division pretty comfortably.
I'm one of those people that I'm not high on the Royals at all.
I'm very high.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bobby Witt. Obviously, he's a top 5 player. But outside of that, I'm a big Salvador Perez fan. But outside of those 2 guys, I don't see a bat in their lineup that stands out to me. I think it's just a lot of, really – kind of average guys. I might be missing a guy, but I just see really average guys. And they got a good pitching staff, but
Salvador Perez is back there. They traded for Jonathan India, so you were missing a guy.
India.
So they got Jonathan India there now. Vinny Pasquantino is a good young first baseman. Outfield is where they can struggle a little bit. Yeah. Hunter Renfroe is back there. MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell. Then you take a look at this pitching staff, and you take a look at guys like Chris Bubich, who has pitched really well.
Yep.
Obviously, a guy that pitched out of his mind last season, and Cole Raggins, who was awesome. Seth Lugo, another guy that pitched out of his mind last season. They do have Michael Lorenzen over there now. Evan Sisk came up from AAA Omaha, was one of the guys we talked about that was going to make a big difference in that Columbus series that they had in the playoffs. Michael Waka is a veteran starter that is starting there. I mean, I think they got all the tools to do it. I think they're managed extremely, extremely well. Got a pretty solid bullpen to back everything up, especially now that you add a guy like Sisk, who just doesn't allow much of anything and didn't at the AAA level. I think you got all the infield talent to do it. Adding Jonathan India is a massive move. Very, very underrated young player who played at Cincinnati. I like the Royals a lot. Then I think for me, it's between the Guardians or Tigers for second. Again, I like where the Guardians are at. Obviously, you're going to have Tariq Skubal and all of the bats for Detroit. That's right there. Minnesota can be competing as well. So if I had to make a suggestion right now, if I had to make a prediction, I'd go Royals 1, Detroit slimly at 2, Guardians and Twins battling for 3 at 4, and then the easiest pick out of anything ever is the White Sox are going to finish last.
Yeah, if I had to go with it, I'm going to go, White Sox obviously last. I'm going to go with the Twins. The Twins at 4, and then you might call me crazy. I got the Royals in the 3. I'm going Tiger. I'm going Tigers.
The American League Central. Nothing's crazy.
I'm going Tigers 2. I will stand by this take. I think Skubal is the best pitcher in the league, hands down, after the massacre that we saw last year in the playoffs.
Except for Lane Thomas. Remember Lane Thomas?
Yeah, I still don't know how that happened, and it's been 5 months since it's happened. But I'm going with the Tigers. They're a young team. They got the momentum on their side. They got pitching. They got bats. I'm going with them in the 2. And then I think we squeak it out. Not by the margin we did last year, but I think by 3-4 games, I think it's going to come down to it. But give me the Guardians in the 1. Why not?
Let's see what some of the experts are predicting. Way too early. This was posted probably way too early. I mean, the name says it all right there. I'm going to look. Let's see. In terms of odds, the Twins, then the Tigers, then the Guardians, and then the Royals. But they're all really close. Yep. Twins are at plus 220. Tigers are at plus 250. Guardians plus 275. And Royals at plus 300. Let's see. Let's go with overall win totals. I think now would be a good thing to end the show on, and make a little pre-spring training bet here. Let's just go through all the teams. Why not? You don't got anywhere to be, do you? Right away?
Nope.
Yeah, no? Okay. Yankees 93.5.
Wow. Is this what they're projected or what they had last year?
No, this is what they're projected. I mean, they had 94 last year, so they were close, but this is their projected for this year.
I'm going to go slightly lower at like 91. I think they'll be right there, but with the loss of Soto.
Yeah, I think so as well. I got under. Orioles 89.5. Slightly over for me for the Baltimore Orioles.
Again, over by I think a game.
Yeah. Boston Red Sox 84.5. Hammering the over.
I'm going under.
Really?
Even
with all they added?
Yeah, I am. It might be a shocker. I'm going under. I think they win 80 games.
Rays 80.5. I'll go under. And Blue Jays 76.5. I'll go over.
Going under on the Rays, going over on the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are a 500 team this year, if not better. I'm high on the Blue Jays. I like the Jimenez pickup. I like them keeping Vladdy around still. You still got Bichette, who I think will bounce back. So I like the Blue Jays.
We still got the AL. This is only AL win totals. I'll have to find NL here in a minute. Let's go to the AL West now. Astros 87.5.
I'm going slightly under on the Astros. They've lost Bregman, so I think that kills them a little bit. I'm going to go slightly under.
Yeah, they were at 88 last year, 87.5. Just because it's the Astros, I'm going to go over. But wouldn't surprise me if they were under that number.
Yep.
Mariners at 84.5. This is my sleeper pick to win the division, actually. I do think the Mariners get
I
above
don't
the
hate that.
Astros hump this year. So 84.5 to me, I'm going over.
Give me the over. I think they win 87, 88 games.
Let's go Texas Rangers, 85.5. They're going to massively improve from last season. There's no way they're that bad again.
Give me the over.
Yeah,
I don't see them being
go
that bad again.
over.
I really don't.
A's at 70.5. That's a tough number.
I mean, they're either going to get it by a number or two. It's not going to be drastic. Give me 70. Was that the line?
70.5.
Give me under. I think they win 70 games.
Wow, just short. That's a bad beat if I've ever heard one. And Angels are at 71.5. I feel like I have to say under. I really want the Angels to be over, but under.
Well, I heard what? Trout's not playing center anymore, just right.
Yeah, he's playing right to avoid the injury bug. So
I don't hate it.
Yeah. AL Central we'll do last. So let's go to the NL East. Phillies 91.5. Shoot that number up, baby.
Yeah, 96, 97 wins. Yeah.
Braves 93.5. I like the undervalue a lot. 93.5. I'll go under.
Yeah. Yep.
Mets 91.5.
I'm going over. I think they win the division.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna go slightly under. I think they get 90. So
I think they get 93, 94.
Okay.
Or wait, Phillies. Hold up. Said Phillies 96. It'll be a fight between the two.
Yeah. Phillies at 91.5 is their win total. I'm going over on that. Nationals 69.5. I think Dylan Cruz is going to make his debut this year and is going to light crap on fire. 69.5 for me. That's over. Oh no, Dylan Cruz did play last year, didn't he? Did he make the major? Yeah.
I think like the last couple weeks.
So first full season for Dylan Cruz, I think he's going to light it on fire. That's what I meant.
Give me the over for the Nationals. I mean, we've seen their talent. Me and you, we've seen their talent in Harrisburg, and I think James Wood's going to have a borderline All-Star year this year. I'm going to go over. I think he's going to go nuts.
Oh, the Miami Marlins 63.5. 64.
Yeah, give me the over, but not by a lot.
Yeah. Okay, Brewers. Now we're in the NL Central. This is going to be an absolute dogfight. Under 82.5, or I say 82.5. Sorry, I was reading off the website. I'll go slightly over for the Brewers. I think adding Nestor Cortez is going to be a nice little boost, but a lot of guys left. I still like 82.5. I think they get 83, 84, but not much over 82.5.
What was the line again?
82.5.
82.5.
They're going to be right around the 80 to 85 range.
You know what? I'm going over. They're going to do it for Bob Uecker. Give me the over.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, big Bob Uecker, you're absolutely. Cardinals 76.5. They won 83 last year.
Give me the over.
Now no more Paul Goldschmidt.
Give me the over.
Yeah, I like the over too. Cubs 86.5. I got the over because I got them winning the division this year.
86
over for the Cubs.
87. Give me the slight under. I think they win 85 games and somehow win the division with that.
I mean, this was probably the worst division in baseball last year. So
yeah,
absolutely. Reds 78.5. I'm going under. Losing Jonathan India, a couple other pieces.
Yeah, I'm going under.
Yeah. Pirates 76.5.
I've been a big Pirates fan. I've been saying it. I think they make the playoffs here the next 2 years.
Paul Skeens effect.
I said in 21 they would make the playoffs in 5 years. So give me the over. I think they improve. I love Henry Davis, Leover Peguero, Nick Gonzalez. Love all those guys. I'm gonna go the over.
All right. LA Dodgers are at a whopping 103.5. That's their line.
That's a big line.
Yeah, that's a
with
massive
a big payroll.
Now they had a massive, hugely, bigly talented roster last year, and they only won 98 games. But the roster did get better.
I'm gonna go under. I think they win like 102.
I'm gonna go over. Actually, I was going to say over at 103, but that would mean I'd have to take the under. So I'll go over at 104.
Okay.
Padres at 89.5.
I'm going under. I think they're about to start
I'm going under too.
burning that up too.
I'm going under too. Diamondbacks at 83.5. New home for Josh Naylor. Let's hammer that over, baby. I like the over a lot.
Go with the over. I mean, a lot of people forgot that they made the World Series 2 years ago. So
and they got better this year. They added Corbin Burns.
Yeah, and Naylor, and I love Corbin Carroll. Give me the over.
Christian Walker on there as well. I mean, watch out for the D-backs this year, man. I don't think they got a shot to beat out the Dodgers, but they're going to get a wild card spot for sure, in my opinion. Giants 79.5.
That's a team I have not kept up with at all. Give me the under. Just
Willie Adames is there now, former Milwaukee Brewer. He is with San Francisco. Where did Santander sign? Did he go to San Francisco too?
I want to say that's right.
I think that's correct.
Let's see. Anthony Santander is with the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, definitely give me the over on that.
Yeah. I feel the over on the Blue Jays. Yeah, I knew he was with the Giants. Okay. Rockies 60.5.
Under. I'm going under.
Here's the thing with these really bad teams, though, right? They set really, really low totals for them. Last year, if this line were it, then the over would have hit. It was 61 is what they won last year. So I'll say under. I think they go under. I think they go 60 and 102. All right, final division. You know it. You'll love it. Your team's in it. Start with the White Sox. Easiest under of my life. No, I'm kidding. I actually have the over because it's 50.5.
How many games they win last year?
41.
41. Give me the over about 51. I think they win 10 more games.
Yep. And there's no way they're going to have 2 back-to-back historically bad seasons. Just not how baseball works. We're going from bottom up in this division, by the way. Twins, 83.5. I like the under. I just don't think the Twins are going to have it this year.
Then they go 79, 80 wins. Give me the under.
Yep. I just don't think the Twins are going to
give us problems like they normally do, but give me the under.
Yep. Tigers 83.5. Bet the over on that. Absolutely.
83.5. Yeah, give me the over.
Royals at 82.5. I'm hammering that over, baby. I like the Royals over 82.5.
I'll go over, but not as much as you think. I think 84, 85 wins.
Well, this is going to be an easy over for you. I'm kind of slightly leaning towards the over for the Guard Ball Club. 83.5 is that number as of right now.
Easy over. Easy.
So let's stick with that then. To close out this podcast, and we'll dive into breakdown spring training, and before opening day, we'll give updated predictions. How many games do you think the Guardians are going to win this year?
I got to pull up how many they got last year because I don't want to go too.
I got it right in front of me. They went 92-69. Final game against Houston got canceled.
92 wins.
I think they're going to be under that.
I'm going to go.
I think the Guardians are going to go 86-89 range is where I got this team. However, I could see them.
Where you're at.
I think they're going to fall anywhere in the 80 to 90 range, but I like anywhere from like 84 to 89.
I'm going to go 89 for the Guardians. And again, like I said, I think they're going to beat out like Detroit and Kansas City by like 3 games. Give me like Detroit at 85 and, the Royals at like 84. So that's where I think it's going to happen. I think we get it with 89.
I think this is going to be a very tight division this year. Very tight.
Way down.
I know we both hit the under on the Twins, but I mean, don't count this team out. I know they choked it away last year, like really, really bad, because we came on here and saying there's no way the Twins don't make the playoffs, and then the Royals and Tigers both passed them. I just don't think the Twins are. I still got them hitting the under on their 83.5, but this very well could be a division where everyone goes 500 besides the White Sox within the division, and you're seeing a team with like 82 wins win the division because it could go 82, 81, 80. Like it could be that close.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's close down the way, and it should be a fun year. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this? I know we kind of talked a lot broadly about things. Hey, I'm diving into a lot of splits this year. My baseball stat mind is about to explode. So
Yeah, I got nothing else. Just ready for baseball to start. Finally, we got it back tomorrow. What's the Guards' first game? Friday?
Guards' first game is Saturday against the Reds.
There we go.
So let's actually go through the spring training schedule to round out the show for all of you fun folks at home. Where are my Guardians? There they are. Reds on. So this is the first. Let's go first 2 weeks because we will probably end up being back next Monday. Not this coming Monday, but next Monday. We'll have another show for you and kind of talk about what we've seen in spring training so far. So Saturday, they got the Reds. Sunday, they got the Angels. Monday, it's the Diamondbacks. Tuesday, the Brewers. Wednesday, the Rangers. Thursday, the White Sox. Friday, the Rockies. Then you get into March. Next Saturday, it's the Cubs. Next Sunday, it's the Brewers. And next Monday, it's the spring breakout game against the Seattle Mariners, which maybe we can try to come on after that and kind of talk about the spring breakout.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that game. That's
Yeah,
probably the
same
number
here.
one game I'm ready to watch.
Yeah, for
So
sure, man.
yeah, you got a good week starting to get
Yeah.
every day. It'll be interesting to see if those are on TV or through the package or all that
I
mess.
don't. I think MLB.TV is going to have a lot of this stuff. Hey, speaking of which, if you since Bally is going out and
Yeah,
whatnot, the Guardians are now offering their own streaming service. I think you can pay $100 for the whole year of, I think, around 150 Guardians games, barring like some nationally televised stuff and just some other specialties and whatnot, and not have like maybe a Sunday game or two here and there. But for, I think, most of the Guardians season, $100, that's like 60 some cents per game.
Yeah.
Might invest. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, I mean, especially if it's not gonna be on Bally's or FanDuel or whatever it is now, and
Yeah.
kind of got to go that route.
Otherwise, I don't know. There used to be the Bally Sports Live app where you could watch all minor league baseball. I don't know how you're going to be able to do that this year.
And it'll be interesting to see with MLB TV as well if there's going to be the same blackout things with the Guardians.
Well,
to make you buy there, because
I
that's
do
how it was
know.
last year.
I do know that with everything going on in our government right now, not getting political at all, that the FCC, the Communication Commission, or whatever the hell it stands for, is looking at going through some legislation to get rid of those blackouts. So
good.
Yeah.
Don't get the point of them at all. If you're buying MLB TV, you should get all the games.
Yeah.
But
they it's because they want you to buy the local cable and all this whatnot and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's stupid. It is very stupid. I need to figure out how to watch my minor league baseball, because while I'm still in Nebraska finishing up college and graduating in May, I need my minor league baseball somehow. I need my Ducks. I need my Captains. I need my Clippers. Hellcats.
Well, you watched a little bit of the playoff series last year, didn't you?
I watched pretty much all the playoff series last year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think they're doing it the same way, just on the MILB app. They made you pay, I think you used to have to pay like $30-$40, but last year was completely free.
Yeah, because it was Bally Sports Live, where it was all completely free. It looks like maybe you could do the same thing again. I'm going to sign in real quick and see if that's the case before we sign off, actually.
Yeah, I've been doing the MILB TV, MILB app. It's it's a legit app in the App Store, and then you can stream all the games. I know last year it was free. They should probably do that again this year because.
Well, let's see if Bally Live is still going to do it. It looks like Bally Live is still going to do it. So I don't know how that works, but yeah, it does look like Bally Live is still. I'm going to fast forward here and just take a quick gander and see. Because opening day for a lot of teams is going to end up being it won't let me. All right, I'll have to check that at a later date. Again, that'll be interesting. Guards start the 27th, Clippers start the 28th, and everyone else starts on April 4th.
Yeah, should be fun season. Can't wait.
Yeah,
Till 27.
I gen sorry, excuse me. I genuinely think this is actually just going to be a very interesting season,
For sure.
because there's all around, because you're going to have a lot of young guys stepping up and down throughout the organization's minor league affiliates. You're going to have a lot of guys coming up and down from the big league club. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where this season takes the Guardians and all of its minor league affiliates. I think it's going to be a fun year.
100%.
And it's just always fun to have baseball back. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, yep.
Always fun to at least have some baseball back.
Once football ends, it's pretty rough with just basketball.
Yeah. Not that basketball is bad, especially with how good the Cavs are playing right now. What, 44-10 are they? Just traded for DeAndre Hunter. Love that move for them. Sad to see the G-Wagon go, though. But
you like Niang?
He was. I don't like him as a player as much as I like DeAndre Hunter or Karis LeVert, but it was his clubhouse presence that really glued this team together.
I got the same thing about Hedges. I mean, they're both bigger guys who are kind of slow, and then it's just kind of there for veteran presence.
They can provide some good things, like Niang can provide the 3, and Hedges provides the defense, and they're the clubhouse guy, but
both lacking speed.
Beyond that, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, but
I feel like there was one thing I was going to say before we close this out, but now I forget what it is. So I'll let you tell. Oh, now I remember. What was the number up to today?
Highest we got to is right now 81 viewers.
Okay,
great show. First one back.
Hey, our goal this year is to break 100, and once we break 100, we're going to look to break 125 and break. Yeah, we were close. We had what, 90 something in a show last year.
96 last year. We were like 4.
Please don't give us that pain again. Just tell all your friends. Tell every Guardians fan. Tell everyone who wants to learn more about minor league baseball.
Look at that. We're already up to 84. 84. New high number on the season.
New high number on the season already. Yep. Was that number any higher as we were going on, or?
That's the highest it's been right now. 84.
We definitely got a plan.
Look at that. Keep it going.
Oh my goodness. You guys are tuning in to the tail end here. We needed you at the start. Hey, tune in. We're going to set a time for you. We'll let you know. Mondays, just like we did last year, because it is the off day for minor league baseball. So figure that's, again, just another really good day to be able to start things up. Preview some schedules, preview some teams, preview where prospects go. And more importantly, though, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games of spring training to enjoy while we are off the air. And then we'll come back next Monday, not this upcoming Monday, next Monday evening, and we'll tell all you, hopefully, a lot of good news.
For sure. Got the new logo. Next week we'll have next Monday we'll have the new intro, and we'll be ready to go. Keep an eye on the X account. Any updates? And that's all I got. Nate, you got anything else?
Yes, last thing before we get going, days where the Guardians are going to split teams and have 2 games on the same day. Monday, March 10th, they will be playing the Cubs and the Royals. On Wednesday, the 19th of March, they got a split squad game against the Athletics and the Angels. And that is I believe they're the only 2 days that they are splitting up. Again, opening day. Preview the start of the schedule. They're on the road in Kansas City to start off the season. Then they got the Padres on the road against the Angels before their home opener is on the 4th, or no, sorry, not on the 4th, they're in the wrong number, the 8th of April against the White Sox. And the 5th series to round that out, they're at home against the Royals before they hit the road again. So there are your first 5 series for your Cleveland Guardians. Tell you more about that when the minor league season comes out too, but I got nothing else, Taven. You can tell all the fine people where we can find all of us.
Yeah, at McCully Media for me, at Tailgate Nate 29 for Nate and everything he's doing with his college Are you done with those basketball broadcasts?
So if my college ends up winning a first-round tournament game,
and what I'm going to end 2 or 3?
They need to win 1. So the way our conference works is we have a 15-team conference, both men's and women's. Top 12 make the tournament. First 4 get a first-round bye straight to the Pentagon, which is a neutral site arena in Sioux Falls. Really, really nice building. It's called the Sanford Pentagon. It literally is like a 5-sided building. It's really freaking cool. And then right now we're in position. We got 1 regular season game left on men's and women's side. We will be traveling on the road for a first-round tournament game. But if they win that, me and another broadcaster up here are going to go to the Pentagon to call those games. But otherwise, we're getting ready for same thing I'm talking about here. Wayne State College baseball and softball season. We'll be broadcasting those games, and that'll round out my collegiate broadcasting career. So
there you go. What college?
Getting there.
What's what you guys, D2 or D3?
D2.
D2.
D2. Right. We're in the NSIC with basically all the Minnesota schools you could want, Mankato, Crookston, what's another big one? Augustana's in Sioux Falls. So that's a big one. Augustana and Mankato should both be going D1. They have the facilities and players to do it. So
yeah, coming down to end of basketball season.
Yeah, and you're covering state basketball for BelieveLand, and
yep,
I'm sure a lot of exciting games.
Game tonight for Perry. So
you doing any wrestling stuff with state or districts?
I'm not big into wrestling. But
okay. I know you did the one Perry. I know you did the one Perry wrestling thing. So
yeah, that's pretty big. 2 nationally ranked teams. But
yeah, fun. I mean, I did a home duel here, like PA announcing and whatnot. It was fun. It was fun. So
not bad. Well, new high number. We appreciate all 89 of you. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Not this coming Monday, but the next Monday.
Probably looking at around 6 or 7 Eastern time, somewhere around there. Sound about good?
Yeah. That's what, spring breakout game?
That spring breakout game is happening that Monday, the 3rd. It is where I lost it. 3:10 Central or 3:10 Eastern. So,
right. So what,
probably be on after that around 6:30, 7-ish. So
sweet.
All right.
Well, appreciate
Enjoy spring training. Baseball is back. Man, so excited.
Like Nate said it. Enjoy some spring training. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll see everybody then.